The sentencing trial of Nikolas Cruz for the Parkland school shooting has been completed. Thursday, jurors commented that Cruz be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for killing 17 people and injuring 17 others at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School on February 14, 2018. At least one juror determined that the mitigating elements, which included Cruz's icy and deliberate demeanor, outweigh the aggravating ones. The verdict concludes the almost 3-month-long trial and comes more than 4 years after the deadliest high school massacre in US history, which occurred on Valentine's Day in Parkland, Florida. Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. Today we'll be looking at the 10 wildest outbursts in the Parkland shooter trial. Yeah, you heard it right. So, let's start our video. Number 1. 17 people killed in Parkland school shooting. Cruz revealed in a pre-recorded statement that he took an Uber to Stoneman Douglas with the intention of killing at least 20 people in less than 6 minutes. He killed 17 by sweeping his AR-15 through the hallways of the 1200 building. Number 2. Judge selected for the Nikolas Cruz case. On the first day of jury selection, her discussion with a potential juror who claimed that she could not serve owing to sugar daddy duties went viral. Number 3. The prosecutor describes the assault in his or her opening statement. On the first day of the trial, prosecutor Michael Satz described Cruz's killing rampage in detail, leading one victim's family member to leave the courtroom in tears. Others covered their heads with their hands in fear. The gunman was unintelligible. Number 4. Parkland survivors described the horror of the attack in their testimony. By the end of the first week, the jury had regularly heard accounts of shooting and violence. Each tale was told from a different vantage point. A teacher racing to lock his door, a student covering herself with textbooks, but the majority began in a similar fashion. According to them, Valentine's Day was nothing out of the ordinary. Number 5. Jurors tour the crime scene at the Stoneman Douglas building. While the freshman building at Stoneman Douglas no longer contained the bodies of Cruz's victims, practically everything else remained identical. On August 4th, the jury visited the scene of the crime and returned with stone faces. Number 6. Families of Parkland victims expressed their ongoing suffering. The Pollock brothers struggle with survivor's guilt. The loss of Joaquin Oliver was hardened by his mother's smile, and Elena Petty's sister does not believe that she can ever again experience true love. Over time, Parkland's wounds have not healed. During the third week of the trial, when the relatives of the victims testified in front of the jury, each was on display. Number 7. The counsel for Cruz summoned the first witnesses to the stand to persuade the jury that Cruz's path to murdering 17 people began long before the day of the massacre. Cruz's defense called upon witnesses who were intimately familiar with the shooter's troubled past. Attorney-in-Chief Melissa McNeil stated he was poisoned in utero. Without negligence on his part, his brain was irrevocably injured as a result. Number 8. Tensions grew as the Parkland shooter's defense makes an unexpected move to rest his case. The Parkland shooter's defense counsel rested their case on September 14th, resulting in a shouting fight between the judge and defense attorneys. The announcement marked a startling and early end to Cruz's 3-week defense, which was expected to include the evidence of more than 40 additional witnesses, including Cruz's brother, Zachary Cruz. Number 9. Closing arguments end and deliberation begins. The prosecution and defense presented their closing arguments on Tuesday. The state urged jurors to impose the death penalty on Cruz, but his public defenders pleaded for clemency, arguing that the shooter's fate was predetermined from birth. A tribunal of 7 men and 5 women must choose between the death penalty and life in prison without the possibility of parole. If the jury recommends the death penalty, Judge Elizabeth Scherer may follow the recommendation or impose a life sentence. Number 10. The jury recommends a life sentence for the Parkland shooter. 7 men and 5 women deliberated for more than a day before making the recommendation. In the courtroom gallery, families of the victims murmured, shook their heads, or held them in their hands as Circuit Judge Elizabeth Scherer read her recommendation. Local and state officials react. Democratic gubernatorial candidate Charlie Crist tweeted, "There are times for which death is the only reasonable punishment. The families and community of Parkland deserve this degree of justice. I will continue to pray for the families and everyone affected by this tragedy to find peace and healing." Annette Teddio, the Democratic nominee for Florida's 27th Congressional District, tweeted, "Many of you have become dear friends over this ordeal, and I'll always remain by your side." Senator Rick Scott of the United States tweeted, "While I have faith in our judicial system, today's verdict is not what many of us anticipated." I can only pray that as each phase of this awful process closes, those whose hearts were broken by this monster may find some kind of closure, and that our Heavenly Father grants them the solace of knowing that they'll one day be reunited with those we sadly lost in His kingdom. Governor Ron DeSantis voiced his disappointment with the verdict and stated that he believes the death penalty was the only acceptable punishment. The governor also expressed his displeasure with the length of time required to reach this point. They used to do this. He would have been executed within 6 months. He is at fault. And that's all for today's video. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments section down below. I hope that you found this video interesting, and if you want to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing to my channel. See you in the following video with some more of the latest updates, and until then, stay tuned!